What's going on, ladies and gents? This is T. Lawrence, and today we're going to cover something a little different from my usual content. You know me, I'm mostly a sci-fi dude obsessed with Halo, and I'm not exactly a die-hard Call of Duty fan. However, some interesting reveals from the new Modern Warfare 4 trailer have compelled me to comment on it, and therefore, make another news/commentary video. To put some context for those unfamiliar with Modern Warfare as a whole, the Modern Warfare series was an original trilogy from 2007 to 2011, until being rebooted in 2019 with many of the same characters returning, but with rehashed stories and new graphics, with the latest installment of Modern Warfare 3 being released back in 2023. We'll talk about that game later. And this year in 2026, the series goes beyond the trilogy, with the 4th edition, Modern Warfare 4, being released on October 23rd. Which is also noteworthy in itself, as most Call of Duty games have released on the month of November. Many are speculating that the slightly earlier release date is to avoid colliding with the release of GTA 6, which has been the most anticipated game for a couple years now. And honestly, it's a smart move, because no studio or publisher would be dumb enough to try to compete with GTA 6 for the spotlight. Be that as it may, the trailer for Modern Warfare 4 premiered last Thursday on May 28th, and I saw a lot of interesting details that I'd like to chip in on. So let's get to it. In the opening, we see a joint squad of both American and South Korean Marines preparing themselves for some kind of deployment. Then, we see the squad patrolling the streets of what appears to be South Korea, thus proving my suspicions. This alone is already a massive change of scenery, as most settings of the Modern Warfare series have so far either been in the Middle East or Europe, always fighting the same typical enemies. But with the setting now in Korea, this opens the door for a whole new conflict. Well, not exactly new if you look back far enough, I guess. Also, an interesting note about this combined squad is that this dynamic is not too out of the ordinary in the real world. For one, we know there are thousands of US troops stationed in South Korea due to their military alliance, as well as to deter their northern neighbor in case they try anything funny. In addition, there are also times when US military police and South Korean police officers actually conduct joint patrols, specifically in areas close to the US military bases. Therefore, this scene from the trailer sort of seems to be a reference to that fact, though I doubt the real-life counterparts have full-on tactical gear like we see here. Therefore, for this particular squad, perhaps they're on a more urgent mission than a regular patrol. Next, the Marines walk into a convenience store, and one of the American Marines, who's actually revealed to be Corporal Dunn, another OG character from the original Modern Warfare 2, makes this cheeky remark.
Who's that, a K-pop star?
I'm sorry, this part just made me laugh out loud. Corporal Dunn, please, I hope you don't die in the game.
The new supreme leader of North Korea.
No shit. I mean, that dude looks younger than I am.
His Korean squad mate then reveals that the person is actually the new supreme leader of North Korea, which is clearly a reference to Kim Jong-un of our world, except for looking like a K-pop star. Yeah, no. Plus, they're obviously not gonna use the real Kim, because if you were around 2014, you know what happened to the movie The Interview. Yeah, not gonna get into that either. Regardless, hey, you know what? A good-looking leader can increase a country's international standing. So if the new supreme leader of North Korea looks like a K-pop star, maybe that's one way to get people to start standing for his country. So yeah, maybe something for all countries to think about. Once the Marines are back outside, the streets suddenly go dark, until they're met with kinetic strikes. Further up in the sky, we see what appears to be the city of Seoul being bombarded, while a squadron of North Korean paratroopers prepare for a drop. Once they make landfall, they activate their night vision goggles and go dark, clearly a reference to the 2019 Modern Warfare.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
작전 개시. 요신 종료.
As cool as the cinematic is, it's also shocking how accurate the scene demonstrates what would actually happen if war ever broke out in the Korean Peninsula. Yes, South Korea may have a technological edge on the north, but in the event of war, the capital Seoul, which is only less than 50 miles from the DMZ, would be completely obliterated, as the North Korean military has thousands of artillery guns pointed straight at the city. Suffice it to say, it would be a horrific scene. It's also interesting to see the North Korean paratroopers sporting night vision equipment and other seemingly modern military gear. Now, I know everybody likes to make fun of North Korea's military due to the many footage of their outdated Cold War equipment, But also realize that this is no longer the 90s or the early 2000s. Especially in recent years, North Korea has come a long way since the Cold War, so this too is not out of place either. In any case, it appears the Korean War has been reignited. Traveling across the world, we are greeted with the streets of Manhattan, as well as the game's title, where the number 4 is actually the Korean character of said number, yet still designed in a way that resembles the actual numeral. I gotta say, that is some clever design choice right there. Within the entrance of a nightclub of some sorts, Captain John Price, now clad in his casuals, appears to be going full-on Jason Bourne, with a woman's voice revealing this.
You're still a wanted man.
Yeah, I know.
What did you do?
But I had to.
Considering what Price did in the ending of Modern Warfare 3, he would most definitely be a wanted man for killing a US military general. In fact, Uncle Sam would never let you off the hook for that. In any case, it seems there's going to be a lot of cloak and daggers for Captain Price's story of the campaign. Next, across the Atlantic Pond, we are back in Baguette Land, where Captain Price and lo and behold, Valeria Garza from Modern Warfare 2 now team up and engage in a high-speed pursuit within the streets of Paris. Never thought I'd see Valeria not only return to the series, but also become an ally this time. But you know what? I am not complaining. I'm also glad we're returning to Paris like the OG Modern Warfare 3, though let's just hope the Eiffel Tower doesn't get destroyed this time. Yeah, not cool, monsieur. The rest of the trailer then presents a montage of all the settings, from a North Korean military officer punishing a village, urban combat within the streets of South Korea, more of Captain Price's escapades, as well as a full-on trench warfare scene, where both sides get up close and personal. Regarding the trench warfare scene, another thing to note is that even though both North and South Korea are bitter enemies, it would be interesting to potentially explore the emotional state of both sides engaging in this quote-unquote brotherly feud. It's a heavy topic for sure, but one that warrants a separate video in itself. Finally, the trailer concludes with what appears to be a showdown between Captain Price and Ghost, with both operators readying for a knife engagement. Although this confrontation appears quite thrilling, I can't help but suspect that this is another one of those bait and switch tactics to get people hyped up. Therefore, I am quite skeptical of the dynamic that's being portrayed here. But if Price and Ghost do end up actually becoming bitter enemies, I am eager to find out what happened that made both men's bond turn sour. Perhaps it's Price's seeming alliance with Valeria giving wrong impressions. Soap would be disappointed for sure. And that concludes the reveal trailer for Modern Warfare 4. And my overall impression? I'm actually looking forward to this story. First, once again, it's great to see a change of scenery in the Modern Warfare series. So far, the settings have either been the Middle East to fight the insurgents, or Europe to fight the Russians. At this point, these settings have become so cliche and stale, it makes my eyes roll seeing the typical boogeyman every time. But to see a conflict finally in a new location really is a breath of fresh air. Secondly, I've always wanted to see an FPS game taking place in a Korean War setting, which is chronically underrated and unexplored. Sure, this is more of a contemporary rendition of said conflict, but many of the real history's dynamics and references are still in place, and it will be interesting to see how a quote-unquote second Korean War would play out. And yes, I know, there was that one mission in Advanced Warfare, but that was more of a one-time gimmick than anything. That being said, however, I would be remiss to not have some skepticism and jump immediately on the hype train. For one, after Halo 5's disastrous campaign, I can never fully trust the marketing of any product. And secondly, Modern Warfare 3 was a huge disappointment, despite all the anticipation we had. Makarov's portrayal was especially a travesty, and nothing like the OG Makarov. I hope the devs learned from the backlash and cross my fingers that Modern Warfare 4 won't repeat the same mistakes. But after experiencing so many letdowns from many of my favorite games, I've learned to keep my expectations realistic, as well as not pre-order anything. Aside from that, however, I really like what I've seen in the trailer so far, and here's to hoping that October 23rd will deliver it. And as always, let me know what you think. What are your impressions of the Modern Warfare 4 trailer? Anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel. My $5 patrons are Kapitan Sladek, Kidsap, Chocoburb, and Dravenraven. My $2 patrons are Komida the Prep Cook Demon. If you would like to appear at the end credits of my videos, as well as have early access and exclusive content on Patreon. Feel free to hop on over to patreon.com/LTELawrence and give a pledge. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is T. Lawrence of the Arcadia, signing out.